Think about the sheer amount of energy it takes to be like one person at the office and then a completely different person around your parents.
Oh, yeah. And yet another version of yourself with your partner.
Right, exactly. It's decades of constantly code switching your personality to just, fit the room you're standing in.
It's exhausting. I mean, it creates this massive neurological load. You are essentially running multiple operating systems simultaneously.
Oh, man, yeah. That is so true.
And hitting your 40s or 50s is usually when the hardware, finally gives out.
Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We're looking at this really powerful essay by ORRIE Karim called Becoming Emotionally Integrated in Midlife.
Yeah, it's such a great read.
It really is. We're going to explore why that midlife crash feels less like a crisis and more like a collision of our fragmented selves.
Right. And Karim makes a vital distinction right out of the gate here. We need to stop trying to, heal ourselves back to factory settings.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that goes against pretty much everything we hear in pop psychology.
Exactly. Healing implies there's this broken piece of you that needs to be fixed or, hidden away.
Right, like something is defective.
Yeah, but integration is completely different. It's about inviting every single fragmented part of yourself to the table.
The angry you, the people pleaser, all of them.
Yeah, the hyper-vigilant protector. Everyone pulls up a chair and sits at the exact same table.
Which, honestly, hosting a dinner party for all your clashing internal personalities sounds so exhausting.
Oh, absolutely it does.
So to figure out how to combine them, we first need to look at why we shattered to begin with, right?
Yeah. Karim calls this the Fragmentation Blueprint, and it actually starts as a brilliant survival tactic.
Like a defense mechanism.
Exactly. If you grew up navigating systemic injustice, or even just the volatile moods of a parent, you learn to compartmentalize to stay safe.
So you made yourself small at home, but maybe you became highly aggressive and super controlled at work.
Right. And you keep those worlds totally separate.
It's like a computer running really heavy applications. But the real drain isn't the acts themselves, right?
No, it's the processing power.
Exactly. It's the massive amount of processing power required to maintain the firewalls between work you and family you.
Yeah.
So they never, ever interact.
Yeah, and eventually you just run out of memory. The whole system crashes.
So a midlife crisis is really just a system crash.
Well, Karim argues that this crash isn't a sign of weakness at all. It's biological information.
Meaning what, exactly?
It means your nervous system literally cannot sustain the pretense anymore. It's signaling that it's time to bring those isolated parts home.
Okay, so if the system is crashing, how do we safely pull down those firewalls and reboot?
Well, Karim lays out 4 specific rhythms for this: recognition, dialogue, permission, and intentional weaving.
But how does that actually play out in real time? Like, without feeling like you're just talking to yourself in the mirror?
It's basically about ending the internal turf war. So instead of suppressing your anger, you start a dialogue with it.
You literally talk to it.
Yeah, you recognize it's there, and then you grant it permission to exist by acknowledging its function.
Like thanking your anger for keeping you from being a doormat in your career.
Precisely. And what's fascinating here is how integration doesn't neutralize your emotions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, through intentional weaving, your anger and your, say, profound compassion can suddenly coexist without canceling each other out.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because this all sounds like an elegant, peaceful negotiation, right?
Right.
But Karim explicitly states that integration initially feels like severe friction, not peace.
Yeah, it is definitely not a Zen process at first.
So if we're finally rubbing ourselves together and becoming whole, why on earth does it feel so awful?
Because your nervous system spent decades relying on that fragmentation to keep you alive.
Oh, so it's a threat response.
Exactly. When you start weaving those opposing pieces together, your brain registers the change in the blueprint as a literal threat.
Wow. That makes so much sense.
That friction you feel is the sensation of past versions of you colliding. The old, you needed grief and gratitude to be mutually exclusive contradictions.
In the new you.
The integrated you has to do the hard work of realizing they are just different frequencies of the exact same truth.
Man, that is deep. So what does this all mean? Practically speaking, for you listening, how do you push through that biological threat response?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Karim frames wholeness as our original intended design.
Right.
She points out that while fragmentation is a response to trauma, Integration is a response to resurrection.
She uses that biblical story, right?
Yeah, the story in Luke 8, where Jesus restores a fractured, legion-possessed man back to his, quote, right mind.
Right. Getting back to the original design.
But reaching that original design takes physical work. Karim really emphasizes somatic practices.
Meaning you can't just think your way out of this.
No, you absolutely cannot. You have to physically convince your body it's safe through breath work, shaking, or movement. You have to discharge that stored tension.
So you combine that physical work with setting actual boundaries. And the practical payoff is just incredible.
It really changes everything.
When you finally speak from an integrated place, your voice fundamentally changes. Not in tone, but in authority.
Exactly. You're no longer just one isolated fragment desperately trying to manage all the others.
You're speaking from the entirety of who you have become.
Yeah, you don't have to be one person in the boardroom and another in the bedroom anymore. Midlife integration isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity.
It really is the ultimate homecoming. But before you go, we want to leave you with one final question to mull over.
Something to think about as you navigate your own integration.
Exactly. If integration means inviting all your past survival mode selves to sit at the table, how do you handle the conversation when one of those past selves fundamentally disagrees with the person you want to become tomorrow?